Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Ship It and Sip It. I'm here today on Friday afternoon with Natalia Puzikova, who is our head of quality assurance at Paralect, and I'm excited to talk to you because I haven't had any QAs on the show yet. So today we get to talk all about what QA is, why it's important, and your role in building the QA team into a better, more productive, more positive force for Paralect. Thank you for joining me. How are you?
Thank you for asking me, for inviting.
How's your week?
It was good and very fast.
Good.
So it's like Monday and today it's already Friday.
Perfect. Well, I'm glad you took some time to join us. Tell us a little bit about this wine. You recently returned from Georgia. So again, we have a Georgian red wine.
Yes.
I have not tried this one. What can you say about it?
I can say that it should be a bit different from the one that Ksenia brought.
The Saperavi?
It was probably not so sweet. And also, so I was in batch 3 in our Georgian workation.
Mm-hmm.
And we with the guys really loved this wine. So like currently we're searching for it in our stores in Minsk already.
Right.
So this one is bought in Minsk, but that's exactly the same wine that we really loved in Georgia.
Super. Well, I'm excited to try it.
Yeah.
That's lovely.
Yeah.
Very vibrant. A little bit sweeter than the Saperavi.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How was the work experience there? What reflections do you have of your time working and living there? And would you do it again?
Yes, I will start from my last question. I think I would do it again. It was fun. We hang out a lot of time with my colleagues. So yeah, it was fun. It was maybe a bit hard because you have no time to stop. But yeah.
For 2 weeks, it was definitely worth.
It was non-stop of work and going out.
Right. Well, I'm looking forward to the next location. We're thinking about doing a sort of internal pitch competition for the next location. This is semi-secret, but I'll share it with everyone anyway.
Spoilers.
Spoilers. So we would like to do this again, either in Georgia again, because we already have the connections and we have a good place and it would be rather simple logistically, or in some other location that's hopefully warm and sunny as well. So what would you suggest? Do you have any locations in mind?
Well, I think I like any country, so I like traveling. If we speak about something sunny, so the first thing that comes to my mind, of course, Thailand, because it's sunny, it's warm, nice weather, great food. The only probably difficulty is that it's +4 hours, so it may be a bit, not comfortable if you work with other people, for example, in Minsk or maybe in other countries. Well, maybe Turkey, why not? It's also super comfortable country in terms of living, like the food also very, very good. It's also sunny in summer and in the autumn as well. So.
Sure, yeah. Another country I have yet to visit, I would love to go. All right, let's talk a little bit about the quality assurance team at Paralect. First and the most basic, how many QAs do we have within Paralect? And could you tell us on average, how many QAs are on each product team, and does it depend on sort of the stage of the product or what other factors?
Currently, I will say that we have 25 people in the team. We just received another yes from hiring, so we're expecting one more person to join our team, and that's going to be 25 in total. Regarding the products and project sizes, so I would say that for startups, this is usually a small team, 2 or 3 developers, business analyst, project manager, designer, and that's usually one QA specialist. But when the project starts growing bigger and bigger, obviously you need more quality assurance engineers in the team, and like we gradually add in more engineers. I would say that the normal or usual ratio between developers and QA engineers is like 3-4 developers per 1 QA engineer.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, if we speak about startups, that's usually 1 QA engineer in the team. If that's something bigger, that can be 2, 3. And on our largest project, like we recently had like 10 QA engineers, so that's like the biggest number.
Right, and that's on our big health tech product.
Yeah.
So in cases like that, and you spent a lot of years working on a larger fintech team as well. So in health tech and in fintech, is there a need for more QA engineers just because it's a more complex business, there are more regulations, safety is more vital?
Yeah, maybe in some way, but I can say that there's like a lot of difference. So I don't think like there were like extra QA engineers because of that stuff. It's just maybe the level of specialists should be probably higher because of the difficulties on the project and because of its complexity. So yeah.
All right. You wrote a lovely blog post for our blog about why QAs are so very necessary. And maybe we'll just start with that because it seems like the QA role is sort of the unsung hero of product development. So you said in that blog post, very often, especially on large projects, QAs are the engineers who know the product better than anyone else. So could you expand on that and maybe just give us an overview of why you think that's true?
Well, the first reason I think because we are like hunting dogs and we're putting our noses in like every corner of the project. So maybe at first people, like especially maybe developers, get a bit frustrated when you come to them and ask, what's this column is doing in the database? Why it's made like that, not like this? Why I don't know, the maximum length is 255 or something like that. But that's not because we're bad people.
No.
It's just because we want to know different details of the implementation that will help us to search for issues better. So we know a lot of information here, but at the same time we know a lot of from the business side because we should test we are real users, that the product will be actually user-friendly for our end customers. So we are combining these two sides, knowing about implementation, knowing about business side of the product, and that's a very good mix. And here I should say that I'm more advocate for a model where key engineers are not assigned to a specific, for example, module or area of the system, but rather to a model where key engineers they work on any feature in any area of the application. So of course, in such case, you need to know everything.
That reminds me of one of the main points you had in this post you wrote, and that was about exploratory QA. And there wasn't very much written about it, and I don't really, I understand the concept in my head, but could you give us sort of a little bit more depth on what you mean by that, and I guess how much time or attention should be given by the QA team to exploratory QA in a given project?
Well, I would say that it can be up to 50% or even more. It all depends also a bit of the experience of the key engineer. Probably for freshmen, for junior case it can be a bit hard, and probably for them it's better to have some scripted tests that they can just follow. and maybe a bit think of outside of the scripts. But for probably more experienced guys, it's technique that they use probably daily, and it helps to solve difficult questions. So it helps you to find untrivial issues in the application or to explore some paths in the application, because obviously if it's simple, some product, it's pretty easy to like describe all the flows, describe how everything works, and just to test it. But if it's getting bigger and bigger and more complex, like I don't know, like cards testing, so it's, you know, it's blowing up your mind how to test it in real life. And of course, in this way, you need to explore like product, explore how like third party work, and yeah, that's why this technique is really valuable.
Super. Thank you for opening our eyes to that. I want to talk a little bit more about your experience on the fintech project that you were working on for a while. Could you just sort of paint the picture for us? What sort of level were you at professionally when you joined that team? How long did you spend there? And what are some of the major things that you learned by working on Intergyra?
Mm-hmm. Well, I joined it, I think I was maybe like, you know, middle, but not a strong middle engineer. And of course, I've learned really a lot on this project. I spent there about probably 3-4 years, so it's been a really long time from the very start, where like almost nothing was there to, you know, to when it's become really big product and it was live for some time.
Yeah.
So regarding experience. Well, I think I've improved my skills like in every area, starting from domain knowledge, because you know there's a lot of complexity in fintech, in integrations with different third parties, which can be really, I don't know, annoying, challenging at the same time. Plus, in like my last year, we were making integration with MasterCard, and it also was like another big challenge because, you know, like you never tested like cards, our physical cards that we pay in any store, and you need to think like how to do it. Like you faced something for the first time. And there were like a lot of such moments when you're doing something for the first time, like you're doing some payment integration for the first time, and it's like very like nervous. You don't know again like how to do it, where to run, who to ask. Nobody understands what's going on. Like there are so many exceptions, you know, like when you're even looking at the API of any like payment gateway, it seems like straightforward for the like at first glance, but then you understand there are a lot of hidden behind.
Right. It strikes me that, I don't know, I mean, you know better than anyone else that modern fintech apps and products have become very complicated. There are so many different integrations, Stripe, PayPal, now crypto stuff. You know,
it's great. It's crazy. I don't know how it all works, because after like working with a few integrations, I understand that none of them is perfect.
Right.
All of them have their drawbacks, or sometimes it seems like it's made of sticks and stones. So, you know, I don't feel comfortable when paying, you know, somewhere in the store. And also, when we were already like testing our cards, it were virtual cards, and of course, we were trying to pay in different like online stores and etc. etc. And I found, together of course with our developers, issue on the side of our some Belarusian payment gateway.
Right.
It wasn't like super critical, but still it was an issue in their like logic of implementation that's a bit wrong, according to MasterCard rules.
Right.
It was funny because I tried to call them on their support, but nobody.
I found a bug for you.
Yes, I called them and I thought like I will tell them, how something's wrong on their side, but nobody took, phone, and it was too much time to write them, big letter and all this stuff.
All right, so that product grew and grew into like a multinational team. There was a team here in Minsk. There's also a team in
Lisbon.
In
we had
Lisbon,
guys,
yeah.
In Sweden.
Yeah, and eventually they moved the whole development operation in-house, and left the partnership with Paralect. But I can assume that we were very happy to have the experience. We were very happy that you had the experience to learn there and grow there professionally and grow into the leader of the QA department. But we have a few different clients that are thinking about launching a brand new from scratch fintech product. What sort of advice would you give them in terms of, with an eye to quality and what the team should do to make sure that down the line, when it is a larger team, when there are more integrations, that the quality is there in the product?
Well, I think that the first advice, but it's actually can be applied to any project, is that you should find a very good team, and you should probably invest in building a strong relationship inside the team and their communication, because that's really important. And if you have like a good team with good communication, they can solve anything, I would say so. From the point of fintech projects, I would say just guys, search for a good DevOps, high Vladimir. Because maybe on like first stage when it's just MVP, it's not so important, but later on with all those PCI DSS compliances and all this creepy stuff, how you should store like user data, how it should be protected, I would say that you should think in advance about some sort of testing in production, especially everything that's related to money. And if it's fintech, it's obviously related to some money operations. And you should think like where to get those money, like that you're gonna use for testing, how you're gonna make transfers, what cards you're gonna use, because again, we're in Belarus, and it can be a bit difficult. It depends again on the application. And I would also say that it's important to probably have some monitoring, even maybe almost from the beginning. Maybe not super like complicated, but still something that will help you to monitor production. And again, those money operations, maybe some sort of reconciliation. Also, you should really look carefully what's going on in production with money, and that you received what you're supposed to receive, and so on. Because in the end, you should, as a business owner, you should be responsible with some regulators, like in the country where the business is registered, and they are checking all this stuff.
So another recent blog post was added from the QA team from Peter, and he wrote about when you should start automated QA testing. So I guess since we're talking about new products and starting from scratch, now would be a good time to sort of lay out a framework of at what point should you move your product team from mostly or all manual testing to adding automated testing. When does that become critical? When does it really save the founder and the team time and money on testing their product?
Well, obviously you shouldn't start it like from the very beginning, because there's no point. Usually everything is changing so fast that you just will waste your time for building Autotest and spending like efforts for it. Probably when you already have some core functionality, usually that's maybe after a year of like you have a product and when it's already in production. So obviously you have some core functionality that probably won't change too much, and that's a good start for auto testing. To begin with some most critical user flows, and usually at that time you already have regression testing pretty big, pretty large, and it takes a lot of time. So it also makes sense to automate regression testing and save your time and efforts.
All right, thank you. One question that I got from our frequently asked questions that founders ask to our business development team is why does a product still have bugs after it's gone through testing with the QA on my team?
Well, that's my favorite, probably.
Why can't you kill all the bugs? Every last one of them.
Yeah. Well, that's impossible. I'm sorry to say that. Sorry, guys, clients, that's impossible to have like product without issues. And even if we look at some super cool products like Apple.
I mean, Facebook was down for like half a day last week.
Facebook was down. So it's inevitable. So sooner or later you will have some issues, even if you're like trying to fix all of them when you release them. But I would say that the general approach that even when we are releasing some build, it's already have some backlog of issues. Just because they are not really harmful, they don't impact a lot the product. And you always need to like find a balance between like number of issues and like time that you want to go in production, because the more issues you want to fix, then the later you're going to be in production.
Right.
And if we like exaggerate this situation, then you can go to production like 2 years later when nobody already needs your product. So. Okay,
that sort of brings up another question that I had, and that I hear some technical founders talk about technical debt, or they write an article about technical debt. Technical debt is okay, technical debt is terrible, it will slow your team down later. There are a lot of opinions about this. So is that backlog of possible problems or real problems the same thing as technical debt? And what is the QA role in reducing technical debt? Or is that just something that the developers make and you don't worry about it?
No, I think that good QA always worry about the technical debt, and in some parts like backlog of issues and technical debt, they like somehow meet each other. Like in simple words, I would say that technical debt, like from user perspective, is that you have like working feature and it seems like fine, but actually inside everything is terrible. Like I said, it's built of sticks and stones. And just one small change can break it all. Issue is something that's working incorrectly or it's not working at all. I would say that our responsibility also includes trying to reduce this technical debt, but of course we not going and fixing it and not coding it. While testing, we do a lot of analytical work, and we're like analyze requirements. We usually like have different meetings, like groomings with BA team, with development team, and we are like telling them, hey, look, this is probably won't be a good fit for example, for this feature because, and we have like usually a number of arguments why it's not going to be a good feature, and part of them is because like we know what's and how it's implemented, and we can foresee a bit of future that it's gonna be something bad for application.
Right.
Also we like suggest different improvements. Like, look, this is not very like comfortable user flow. It's maybe too long, or I don't know, not so user friendly. It's unclear. Like, what's the next step? Let's change it like that or like that. Mm-hmm. And that's also part of reducing like technical debt in terms that we're trying to avoid, some bad decisions.
Right. That's an interesting dynamic that you're bringing up, because I'm always curious just about the actual way the work gets done within the team. So who do you guys interface with when you have these problems, and who maybe, you already mentioned the BA team and the developers, but how do you come to consensus when, say, the product owner or the founder wants a feature, the BA team sort of builds the logic for that feature, so they're sort of behind that idea, and you guys see potential problems with that. How do you find a middle road there, and what does that process sort of look like of solving that conflict within the team?
Mm-hmm. Well, actually, this is what includes a lot of communication, because you should communicate with lots of people. So usually business analysts, they like showing and describing what we're planning to do, what's the new feature should look like, should work like. And during this meeting, we already can, come up with some ideas and, make some notes like, look, you haven't thought maybe about this flow or this, usually this is edge cases, you haven't thought about this edge case, or like how we're gonna do this stuff, because, we have this hidden rocks in the water and stuff like that. So yeah, that's a lot of communication, and part of the notes business analysts usually receive from development team if there are some constraints from the implementation side, or some maybe difficulties, and maybe it's better to do something in other way. Maybe we haven't thought of some maybe best practices, or we haven't thought about the future, because it's great to have architect on the project, because he thinks not only about the current moment, but how the product will evolve eventually into something bigger. And maybe besides the groomings, that's usually just one-on-one meetings, just meeting together in some room, and we were just sitting and brainstorming together, like how it's better to do this feature, that everyone is happy, that development is happy, product owners are happy, and like we are happy.
Right. And that brings us to the point, another thing that you mentioned in your blog post was that the quality assurance team helps to improve product quality with our professional pessimism. So pessimism is usually seen as a bad thing. You don't read in startup blog posts, you don't read about how my project was awesome because we had pessimistic people on the team, right? It's not a very common theme in this world. So, but it sounds like from what you described that you guys do have to spend a lot of your time raising things that you think might cause problems. So it's inherently sort of negative.
Yeah, it's kind of criticism.
Yeah. So how do you in the team environment keep sort of a positive, startup, everything's great mentality when your job is to raise negative issues all the time?
Well, I think it depends again on the relationship inside of your team, because if everyone understands that it's not something that you're just trying to, to tell like developer that he's done something wrong, or like he sucks, or whatever it is. It's not like pointed at him. It's just a process of trying to make a product better. So then there is no problem. And if people think that it's pointed at them, then it's it can be hard.
Right.
But actually, about professional pessimism, I read in ISTQB syllabus, so it's not something that I came up with.
Right.
And it was about testers' mindset. So when you have like testers in the team, their mindset should be like professional pessimists. They should be like a bit of critics.
Right.
It's like their professional traits. And like, for example, if we take a look at the developers, they like on the opposite side, so they are building something from scratch. They are creators, and their approach and their mindset is a bit different. And so this mix of two different mindsets,
it's necessary.
Yeah, it's necessary.
It reminds me a lot of being a writer and having a really good editor. So
it's a different, you can't blame your editor, for finding your mistakes.
I guess there can be unprofessional editors that just say, hey, what is this shit you're writing? And there can be unprofessional QAs that say, hey, developer, this code is trash, go home. So being a professional pessimist is definitely the better way to go. Say we have a new project, it's a small team, there's one QA there. How do you help that person just feel supported? What ways can they ask other QAs for help or learn from each other so that they don't feel alone on that team and like alone with the problems that they have?
Well, I hope nobody feels alone on the project, and usually all the people on your project are really helping, including again VAs, dev team, PM. But I think that the main support comes from the mentor that is assigned to a new person, and usually mentor helps with a lot of questions that usually arise for the first maybe 2-3 months. And he's trying to guide you through all these processes, how to build, what to do on the project and stuff like that. Of course we can mingle with each other, and we have a separate channel for our case where we can also ask questions and share something about our projects, share our knowledge. Plus we have QA talks and meetups. Also we're trying to share our expertise.
It seems like QA is sort of the foot in the door to working in tech. And on all of our vacancy pages we write that Paralect is a place where you can grow your career, you can increase your knowledge, you can move up into a bigger and better role or opportunity within the company. So what does that sort of progression possibly look like for QAs? Do they just become a really, really good QA, or do they get into project management if they really like people? Or do they become, and then eventually maybe product management if they like the product side of things as well? What are some of the sort of avenues for people to take professionally if they start as a young QA?
I think that's every road is possible, because as a QA engineer you kind of have knowledge in both a bit of about the product development, and also you see it from the business side. So it's a good really starting point if you want to maybe later to grow into business analyst, or maybe in product manager, or just a project manager. It depends on how much do you like to communicate with other people. In our company it's possible. We already have a few examples of how people moved from testing into project management, and maybe even business analyst, I'm not sure. business analysis. So yeah, and you can also just grow really in your tech skills professionally, because we give a lot of responsibility for our key engineers, and they usually have like lots of accesses to different tech stuff like databases, servers, and so on. It's from one hand like it's very high stakes and a lot of responsibility on your hands, but at the same time it's a great chance to improve your knowledge and skills in general. And now we're a super cool team with smart people, so join us. And maybe I've seen an interview with Xenia,
right?
And she said like that BA team is a great team, like best team in the world, and in the company.
To be fair, I think everybody says that.
Yeah, so we can argue a bit here.
But
so
yes.
yeah, Xenia, I know that you were going to organize some debates, so we can debate on this topic.
All right, it'll be the battle of the QAs and the BAs. Well, it's fascinating, and it sounds like not only that either of you ladies have the best teams in Paralect, but our product teams themselves are really some special combination of talent, experience, and open communication. Because I got to see what Vladimir said on Dimitri's podcast last night about his experience of going to another company and returning to Paralect after a rather unsatisfactory experience there, as far as I could understand. And he's not the only one. Another guest that was on the podcast here, Nikita Solisnuk, also left Paralect and returned because he felt like the community and the team atmosphere here was better. There's some special magic. Yeah,
there's some special magic about the people.
Yeah, involved in that. So the QA team is a part of that. The BA team is a part of that. We're all winning.
We're all like part of the magic.
All right, let's pivot out of work, unless you really want to keep talking about squashing bugs. We can talk a little bit about your hobby. We've got a video on our YouTube about Natasha learning to fly and flying successfully an airplane. When did you get into flying? Is it still something you're passionate about? And how, as a risk sort of analytical risk person, I'm kind of surprised that flying
I'm also surprised.
is a passion of yours. So tell us about that.
So actually, I really like traveling, as many people do. And last year was a COVID year when everyone shut down their countries, and you can't really travel somewhere in the world. And it was it started from the beginning of the year, and somewhere in the middle of the year it was summer, and I was already I want to fly somewhere, just please, I want to just go somewhere. And I was thinking if I can't go to other country, why can't I just fly here in my home country?
Sure.
And I just Googled a bit, found probably the first company that allows you to just fly on their airplanes, and just call them. And we just went to the airport near the Minsk, and at first I wasn't planning to navigate myself. I just thought we will take this trip across Minsk, just to feel how it's
you just wanted to ride in a plane, right?
Yeah, sort of, just yeah. But then they told that we have master classes, and
sure,
you can just sit next to the pilot and feel yourself like a pilot. And yeah, so that was interesting idea, which I finally decided to try also, and I really liked it. And I was really lucky because the day I was flying, on the airplane, there was no wind, and it's not shaken, possible ways, and it was super comfortable. Actually, it feels more comfortable when you're doing it yourself rather than you're sitting like behind on the, on the other seat, because actually it's shaken, more when it's in the end of the airplane, and plus you're super focused on how to navigate correctly, because there are a lot of things you should take a look all the time, like how you're flying, your speed, and so on.
Interesting. I feel like exactly the opposite way, that the flying is like the least great part about traveling. Being at the destination is great, but,
yeah, of course.
but getting there is terrible, and I'd much rather just sit on a train. But
do you like long flights? No, you hate
long
flights. You hate. I like.
I'm so uncomfortable on them. It's just
like long flight. I can watch videos and nobody is going to blame you because there's nothing really you can do in the airplane. You can watch videos, read a book, and, stuff like that.
But I'm glad you love it, and I'm glad that you got the chance to fly and see what it was like to fly the plane yourself. It's awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, well, thanks for coming on Ship It and Sip It. Thank you for bringing this lovely wine. And I hope you all have a great weekend. And my next guest will be Pavel Prata. We're going to talk all about Paralect's transformation into a venture studio, the product lab that we have, the accelerator program. It's going to be a super show. So tune in next time and ship it and sip it.
See you.